a 22-year-old single mother, but my story starts quite a bit before I became one. I became homeless when I was 15 years old on November 8th of 2016. It was election day, and we watched the results as a family staying in a Super 8 hotel. I had already gone through a lot in the beginning of high school. I dealt with an extremely abusive relationship the first 2 years, and that itself led to a lot of problems with my mental health and personal life. Add homelessness, other mental illnesses, and an undiagnosed autoimmune disease. All of that made me fall quite a bit behind from where I needed to be. I had less than half the credits that I needed to graduate at the beginning of my senior year. 1 week after my parents found a place, I took a pregnancy test at work. And I found out just 5 minutes into my shift as a cook at the truck stop in Belgrade, I was pregnant. From then on, I knew I needed to get my shit together. My graduation date was set for June 1st. My due date, June 12th. I didn't care if I did it 9 months pregnant or with a newborn. I was gonna make this happen. So, the very next school day, I marched down to the counselor's office and I told them, "You guys are going to get me to graduate." And I kicked my ass in gear. They told me about a program that they had that I had to take my entire high set, which is a series of tests similar to the GED, as well as pass all of my classes for that year. With that, I would get my whole diploma and graduate with the classmates that I had been with for almost 13 years. Being pregnant in high school was hard. There were constant comments and looks from students and teachers alike. We good? Okay, perfect. The testing center in Bozeman was booked out past our graduation date, so I had to drive under school supervision to both Butte and Helena on 2 separate occasions. I was extremely pregnant taking these tests, 6 and 7 months along. Coming back from the second, my teacher asked me, "So, who's adopting the baby?" Despite me having my daughter's name written all over everything I had. I still don't know how I handled being in high school as a young, pregnant, single mother so well. Some people judged and shamed me, while others helped and made things easier. I was even trampled in the hallways at one point and had doors slammed in my face. Despite all of this, the story of my labor made me realize just how much I can accomplish. My water broke on Memorial Day, the day before finals started. My mom was on her way to go pick up my great-grandmother, who was 87 at the time, and she was getting her ready to tend to our ancestors' graves in Livingston, when it finally happened. I had been in prodromal labor for 2.5 weeks by then. So to say that I was already exhausted is an understatement. And with my attendance policy for graduating, this was also a challenge. I had to go to school while in labor, and I felt more exposed during that time than ever before. I was dilated, and I had to be around teenagers that I previously had to yell at to wash their hands during the flu season. I was open to the world, and I definitely didn't want to be around all of those kids during such a vulnerable time of my life. Getting Braxton Hicks contractions while sitting in cold, hard school desks was grueling. constantly afraid that my water might break at school or that my baby could get hurt. But I persevered. I managed the strict attendance policy and used up all of my allotted unexcused time while I was in labor. I was already strained from being in the early stages for over 2 weeks, and the full-blown thing wore me out quickly. I went without pain medications for a large portion, but opted for an epidural. I was so overstimulated, my body just wasn't dilating anymore. 4 hours after getting it, my baby girl came into our world on May 28th. At this point, I was texting with most of my teachers regularly. So when my water broke, I just messaged them and said that I wouldn't be making it to finals. That I'd email them or have my little sister bring in whatever homework that I hadn't turned in. And while in full-blown labor, I finished every last piece of homework I had right before giving birth. The only thing that I had left to do was my government final, and I went straight from discharge to the high school to take it. I took that final and went straight to graduation practice. The very next day, just 4 days after giving birth, I went to my graduation. Bloated and bleeding, wearing nursing pads underneath my dress. My daughter was dressed in a pretty frilly dress, and she slept through the whole ceremony. I did it. I actually fucking did it. And let's go back for a second. When I got pregnant, I was living out of my car at 17. My parents got a place 1 week before I found out. I went from being a homeless, prospective high school dropout to a mother, graduate with a home in just 9 months' time. My mom supported me immensely, financially and emotionally, through my whole pregnancy. They provided me with a place to live, gave me money for food, paid my bills, and helped me buy things for my baby, just so that I had the ability to put my full attention on graduating high school. And while that seems like the norm for most, providing a place to live for your teenager, it just wasn't for my family at the time. But even now, she supports me by watching my daughter while I work and taking her to appointments as needed so I don't have to call off. In the past, she even watched her while I was briefly pursuing a degree in art education. They unfortunately lost their home again in April of 2021 because of corrupt circumstances. That put everyone back on the streets. Homelessness has been a big theme in my life because I've personally suffered multiple times. But I will say, with my daughter, was the worst experience of them all. We were only homeless for 3 months, but I spent the last 2.5 weeks sleeping in my car with my then 2-year-old in the summer heat. Sweaty and humid, sleeping on uncomfortable leather seats that felt like they were being glued to my bare skin. Trying to fit my daughter and I into the backseat of my Ford was tough, so I slept in the driver's seat instead. I reclined back as far as I could go without squishing her behind me and rested my legs on the steering column. My legs would fall asleep, so I'd have to get up in the middle of the night and do laps around my car. My passenger seat was filled with my necessities and held everything that I needed to survive. And while being homeless for 3 months may seem like a lot to most, compared to the 2 years that I was previously homeless, it didn't feel like very much. But sleeping in my car with my daughter was taxing mentally too, worrying about those parked around me, fearful for our safety. But I had to do this in order to save for my deposit and first month's rent on my apartment. I had gotten approved for one within my budget and couldn't spend money on hotels anymore. I had already spent over $3,000 on just 15 nights of hotels here in Bozeman, simply because 95 degrees at night was too hot to sleep in the car. But my daughter and I finally moved into our new home on July 2nd of 2021, and we've been there ever since. I have been single the entire time I have been a mother, including my pregnancy. I have never really had a serious relationship during motherhood, and my mother is honestly her other parent. Her father hasn't seen her in almost a year, by 3 days, and hasn't contacted me in just as long. It's difficult for me because my own father is very abandoning and distant. He didn't even come to his own father's funeral. It's become a multi-generational trauma, and I'm a third-generation single mother. My grandmother was a single mom here in the Bozeman area in the 80s, and that was far from the norm at the time. My mom was a single mother to my sister and I until we were in our late teens when she married her current husband. I want to change that cycle for my daughter, as well as teach her that she doesn't need a partner to be valid. I started seeing a therapist the week I found out I was pregnant, and I've been seeing him ever since. But a quote from a former single mom really resonates with me. I had always said that my child is either going to see me in the healthiest relationship possible or on her own just thriving, because both are great, wonderful options, and I didn't want them to see me being submissive or dismissing. End quote. I do want to show my daughter what a loving, healthy relationship looks like, but I'm okay on my own too, and that's still a healthy relationship to model. I just want her to not make the same mistakes as the women before her did. We go out to breakfast, just the two of us, on a regular basis. We go to things like the Sweet Pea Festival and the Christmas stroll. As a kid, my mom never really took us to do those things. There was 2 of us and 1 of her. So I'm now making it a point to do these things with my daughter, regardless of having a partner or not. It can be an extreme sport at times, wrestling a toddler who's half my size, but I still love doing things with her. It has been hard, but I know the stuff that I've been through and struggled with have made me more resilient. I have a laundry list of diagnoses, from PTSD to bipolar 2. I also have an extremely rare autoimmune disease called Behçet's that affects about 20,000 people in the entire United States. I was also diagnosed with fibromyalgia at just 21. But I'm learning to live with it, and I've come to terms with my new reality. The biggest thing that I've found that helps me is talking about what I've been through. It's what I want to do with my life. My social media is mostly dedicated to it. Breaking stigma with things like mental health, all the way to recovering from abusive relationships. My mental illnesses are also heavily stigmatized, and those stigmas hurt a lot of people. I also just lost a very dear friend to suicide, something that I have also struggled with. My daughter helped me get past that, and now I want to use my experiences to help others. Helping people feel more comfortable talking about their experiences has become a passion of mine. And that is the one thing that has consistently helped me through my struggles. I don't know what I'm doing with my life quite yet, and that's perfectly okay. I'm still young, and I have a lot of life left to live. I spent most of my childhood in survival mode, and I'm just now getting out of that. I just know that I want to use my experiences to help others. Thank you.